Hello, everyone. Hope you're having an amazing Monday and welcome to the Reality Bang. I'm RJ Johan, your host for this session, and thank you for tuning in. That's it. If you guys want to contribute to our topics, having to say, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. Now, let's jump right into it. For today's topic, let's talk about degree versus experience. And of course, we have Johan here with us. Great to have you back.
Good to be back. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good topic. So yeah,
Yep. So let's jump right into it, shall we? So
yep.
my very first question is now, do you think a college degree guarantees a job?
Well, here's the thing. Let's just say, if there is a doctor who tells that he has not studied MBBS and he's a doctor, are you going to let that person, take diagnose you or do surgery on you? Absolutely no,
Nah,
right?
nah, nah, definitely not.
if if a person has to go meet has to go have a get a lawyer, are they gonna get a lawyer who just has experience, or they're gonna get a lawyer who has actually who's gone to law school? It's obviously
Yeah.
the one who's gone to law school. When they're building a place, right?
Hmm, hmm.
When they're going to build a road, let's say, are they gonna just let some random person who says I've been building roads for years, or a person who's actually studied engineering? Obviously they're going to go for
Yeah.
the ones who is qualified. But then at
Hmm,
the
hmm.
same time, there are people who are, let's say, in the creative field. There are designers who I've heard stories of designers who have dropped
Hmm,
out
hmm.
school. They have dropped out school itself, and they are doing, they are working in companies, and they have just climbed up the ladders, and they're doing well.
Right.
So it really depends on which course also that you're going to pick, that where degree really matters. And especially in a country like India, right,
Hmm, hmm.
where it's financially, it's a very risky thing to bet on a career or a course that people have not heard of. That is the main reason why people still who's financially struggling, and they want to pick a career. They're gonna pick a career that is that they themselves have a it's the career, the future is somewhat like the promise is very backed up.
Right.
There's records that that there has been a future and a career being well made careers in this field itself. And
Hmm,
because
hmm.
that guarantee is there, that is one of the reasons people go for that. Which is why earlier in the day, people were going for engineering, people were going for medicine, but that itself became so saturated. Now the ones who are studying MBA engineering, they themselves are struggling to get a job. The ones who
Hmm,
have done
hmm.
medicine, it's reached a point that even without a master's, getting a job in a hospital is very difficult for them. You
Hmm,
know,
hmm, hmm.
and then here, that's the thing. Like, there are these kind of courses, where which is very practical based, like like I said, the creative field, or editing, or designing. These are completely practical field, and there are people who have dropped out of college that we know, who have actually worked in these fields. But
Right.
so there are companies like that who really look at the experience a lot more than the degree. But then at the same time, there are degrees where you cannot say that the college life is not helping them. Obviously, going to a college and going to a degree in the end of the day is going to help them.
Right.
Which is why, like, one of the main reasons why an Indian goes and studies in abroad is because there is more credibility to a degree that is being when you do it in abroad in a very established university, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And also, what is there's a reason, like scholarship also. For someone who has to do scholarship, for someone who wants to get the 100% scholarship, there is a criteria of, like, you have to score this much marks and you have to pass these
Right.
exams. And
Hmm, hmm.
see, in this world where you have to apply for a university, where getting the jobs, again, like, there is more promise given for such sort of universities. And in these
Hmm,
kind of
hmm.
worlds, they're asking for qualifications, they're asking for degree, they're asking for, for you to pass all exams. In fact, there are some companies where if you don't have you like if you have arrears, you can't get a job in such companies. Such
Right.
companies
Right.
also exist. So
Hmm, hmm.
again, look, the I don't know what they may have their own reasons why they're asking for such things. But then again, there are companies, there are places who look at this. But then also, you have the other end where people have now come to a realization where just the degree is not going to be enough. You need to
Hmm.
go beyond that. You have to study beyond that. Because
Right.
here the thing is, I think college in one way, like either way, your the field that you're doing is theoretical or practical. In the end of the day, college I think is mainly for a place where you somewhat you can lay your foundations. I think
Hmm.
that's really what college can do. I think there is this one chef who recently I saw, not recently, it's 2 years back. His name is Venkatesh Bhatt. He's a famous
Hmm.
chef in Tamil Nadu. And in one interview that was this was asked to him, like, does the fact that he's been a chef for 30 plus years, is that experience what made him the person he is today, or it's that college that studying hotel management, did it help him? He
Hmm.
himself said the exact same thing. For everything, there is a foundation, and in the hotel management and food industry, that foundation of to run a restaurant, the a finance department, an engineering department, an accounts department, all these
Hmm.
things, and in cooking also, there are so many ingredients that he had for foreign ingredients that he had never heard of. He said,
Right.
if I didn't go to college, I would have never heard of these ingredients. And so he said that college laid that sort of a foundation for him. And eventually it is the cooking experience, the working in the food industry, that practical experience only will give you that sort of a gain. And in the
Right.
end of the
Right.
day, when you're working in the industry, right, that's what will help you. This is one of the reasons which we'll be talking about. That is, the companies keep asking for experience, no? You
Right.
need
Right.
to have
Right.
this many experience. There's a reason. It's that experience where you learn. Even a doctor, even though they've studied MBBS, they all will say, because of practicing, for many years, that's where they end up learning a lot. So college, does the degree matter? In some places, it matters. In some places, we're seeing where they're actually asking for the experience more. It's reached that sort of a point. It's still a mix sort of a thing, I feel. Like a lot of the articles that I've read, they are like, they're still telling, like, you don't need a degree at this point. But for a person
Hmm.
who's financially struggling, you can't go and tell that to a person. For
Right.
them, yeah, for them reaching up, climbing up the ladders, it is a lot more difficult for those people. And which is why they try to get into the best colleges, and those colleges do give the credibility, which they end up getting the jobs in those certain places. So
Right.
in other countries maybe it's a different story, but in a country like India, I think it's a little bit unfair to still say, college degree is not required. It's still required in some
Mhm.
places though.
Right. Now, many people say, like, in any profession that you go to, it's always necessary that you network with various people.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
example, I'm doing law, so networking is a huge thing in law. So now, coming up with the next question, now, does networking open more doors than a degree would?
The short answer is yes. I mean, both of us know
Okay.
it does. There is, like, irrespective of what your field is, it is the people you know and the contacts that you have, it does. And if you have like a contact, a much more powerful contact who can get you a better gig in a place,
Hmm.
that will obviously look better in your profile also, right? That you have done a
Right.
work in this certain place, and obviously that will give you higher opportunities. It is I mean, there is one part of it where it is very sad that a person who may be much more qualified than this person is not getting the opportunity. But then at the
Right.
same time, the whole thing about networking is people end up collaborating with another person because they know the person. In the end of the day, it's like a collaboration sort of a thing. So they get in touch with the people that they know. It is
Hmm.
unfortunate that sometimes there might be someone who might be better at the job, but then
Hmm.
still, because this person had the contact, they end up getting it. It is
Right.
unfair, but then at the same time, that's just how things work, right? Like in acting also, this whole conversation about nepotism is one of the things, right? Where
Hmm.
actors who have this sort of connections with higher much more powerful people in the industries, they are the ones who end up getting opportunities, and the actors who are actually just great in the skill of acting, they don't end up
Right.
getting the sort of opportunities. And that's always been the discussion over the past couple of years. Or I mean, especially post COVID, this conversation has been like spoken a lot more, I've observed. So
Hmm.
and then I was watching a podcast where they were talking about this, and that's what they were saying. In the end of the day, that itself is networking. And
Right.
like for example, there are so many like actors itself who started their careers through other sort of ways. Like they started either by working, like doing small roles in in some films, or they end up. So a lot of them actually come through modeling. That's one thing I've observed. A lot of them start through
Right.
modeling,
Right.
and they end up meeting like a director or something, because they got to meet that director, and they are the ones who ended up giving them that opportunity. And again, that is networking. From someone who
Mm-hmm.
didn't have anything, they started from somewhere, but they still ended up building a contact. And
Right.
that's pretty much networking, how it works, right? I think the networking skills is something, everyone keep telling how important it is, because there are people in every profession. There are people who earn really less money, and then there are
Hmm.
people who earn in crores. And the
Yeah.
ones who earn in crores, one of the main reasons they earn in crores is because if you look at their contacts, their clients are some of the most, some of the biggest like business tycoons in the country. And like
Yeah.
there are designers itself, who own, who make money in like crores. And these are
Hmm.
designers whose clients are like, real estate owners, and jewelry company owners, and
Hmm.
tech owners. And these designers know these, they just don't know they know the companies like owner. They know that's the level of contacts that they have. So in every field, like even like in the law firm, like I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, right, networking is very important.
Hmm.
In every single field, networking is important.
Hmm.
And that's just how you're gonna that's the whole thing about the profession, where you end up meeting people, connect with them, and try to bring out an opportunity for yourself while climbing up the ladders. Sad part in this is there might be another person who's a lot more talented, but they're just not getting the opportunities.
Right.
That is the sad part of what networking. But then in the end of the day, uh, there are two types of networking, right? One,
Hmm.
who they themselves are the ones who meet and get in touch with the person, and they end up getting that contact. Another one, who have had that contact, even though it's not a contact that they wanted to get. It's a contact that they just got because because of their parents, or because of their family members or something. They easily got the contact. And these are
Hmm.
the two ways of somewhat getting networking. But in today, where it's very difficult to get a job, but at the same time, I know so many of my friends, because they had other friends and all in contacts. Because of those friends, they ended up getting jobs in those companies. And
Right.
so that's all. And today, in the world of like designing and media, it's become 10 times more difficult to get a job post AI. So it's actually become a lot more difficult. And nobody just wants a designer or just wants a videographer. They want everyone. They want all five jobs to be done by one person. A lot of
Yeah.
these companies. And because a lot of these people had these friends and contacts, they ended up working in their companies, and they're getting good work also. So that's,
Hmm.
networking is a normal thing. It's there in every field, but the problem is, in some fields it's good, in some fields it's not good.
Yeah. Now, why do employers really ask for work experience? Like, especially when we are talking about, entry level jobs, and like, where are these students even supposed to get, experience from?
It's one of the weirdest like things that I'll never be able to understand. Like when I was also applying for jobs like post college, this is one of the weirdest things that I also came across. This is a job, but they want 2 to 3 years of experience. From
Exactly.
I mean, there you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But then again, these are the companies that are actually good. These good companies ask, but then there are some companies, the pay is very less. The one,
Hmm.
the ones that don't ask for the experience, the pay is very less. The job, the salary is also, the kind of work they get is also, no, it's not exactly the work that they expected. And
Hmm.
though there are companies like that also, who don't ask for the experience, but in return the job is not really that good. But again, it took me a long time to understand, but now when I look back, that's, I think I kind of understand why that experience is needed. Because
Hmm.
you end up learning from the experience. It's not just about the skills that, right? It's your
Right. Right.
ability to work as a team. It's your ability to solve the problems and the situations that you are in as in your workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
like all these things, these small things about your, like for example, when you're working in your when you're starting to work only like as a, let's just say like a designer or a video editor, the number of changes that these people have to do for just one video, you're talking about like 20 plus like changes for like 1 minute video. That these
Right.
the clients will ask for that many changes, and they're such small and minute changes that they keep asking. And you go check their
Mm.
folder, they'll have like 120 files of just one video. And
Wow.
and that's just, and for someone who just starts working, it's very overwhelming, these many
Mm-hmm.
changes. But again, then when there's a person has like 3 years of experience, they, instead of doing these many 20 changes, they one, either they'll do those 20 changes without, because they already, because they have the experience, they know this is coming, so they're fine with it. Or they just have the experience enough to know, maybe in one or in within a couple of change times itself, they can do all those changes instead of changing 20 times. Maybe like 4 or 5 times they can do those the exact same changes, if they have, if they have that experience, if they have those skills of asking the client what exactly that they want and everything. So all those things will come only when you have that experience. So when
Right.
you end up working and you end up like when you end up learning these small like skill sets about, how to work, those things are very important in a workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
like despite how skilled you can be at the craft, when you end up entering in the profession, it changes a lot. It's a very different sort of, it's a very different change. And when you enter, and when you're used to that sort of a change, and that is and when you're trained for those stuff, like for example, okay, I'll just pick a designer situation, like their
Mm-hmm.
a logo is given. Now a client is gonna tell, do whatever you want. Okay. This is the scariest thing for any designer actually. Like, because when you
Yeah.
don't tell them what you want, and you just tell them do whatever you want, they're like, it's like a writer who's trying to write a book from, a blank page, and they have to
Mm-hmm.
start from the dot, and everything they have to figure out themselves. That's really how it is for a designer. When you tell that to a designer, it's where they don't know where to start, because they're not aware. But if they do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want, and then they ask for like these thousand changes, and these designers,
Right.
what they initially design versus what the final output is completely different. you
Yeah.
know but then you take an experienced designer, if you actually tell this person do whatever you want, because of the experience they have, because of what they have learned t- over the like just 2 3 years, they'll know
Mm-hmm.
what kind of questions to ask the client itself, so that they can like flesh out enough information that will be enough
Mm-hmm.
for them to build up some sort of some logo. and uh,
Mm-hmm.
and those skill sets that they learn that only through an experience. Now a person who doesn't have an experience, for them it'll just be very overwhelming when they just say do whatever you want. Either they'll just
Mm-hmm.
do whatever they want, or they'll just get very scared what to, they don't know exactly what to put on the, when they design. So
Right.
these small things that you will learn in an experience, it does matter, and that's what they expect, even in the companies. Because it's very unfortunate that there are a lot of companies who want the job done, but
Mm.
they're not willing to train people. That's the problem, a lot of these companies.
Right. Right.
When you're not willing to train the and I think it's pretty straightforward. Like the ones who are asking for experience, it's pretty straightforward. They're not willing to, they're not willing to like sit and train you
Mm-hmm.
make you good at your job. They want the work done, point A to point
Right.
B, they want it done. So for that, a person who has an experience is going to be a lot more helpful. So
Right.
that's the reason they do. But then I really wish a lot of companies are willing to like take and hire people and just train
Mm.
them well enough.
Yeah, that actually brings me to my next question. Now, if experience really matters so much to all these companies, now shouldn't they just hire these fresh graduates
Yeah.
and train them? And if let's just say a graduate like freshly graduated, he works in a company and he's trained in that
Hmm.
company itself, won't the person tend to be there for a little bit longer time
Yeah.
than to be there for a short time? So Why can't they do that instead of asking, prior work experience?
So that's the thing. Like one of the main benefits they can get out of training a person and making them good at it, good at the skill, is you
Hmm.
get that loyalty. So
Right.
a person like you said, like a person who has
Hmm.
like 2 to 3 years of experience who work here
Hmm.
versus a person with zero experience who works here, and you train them and you make them good at what they do. This other
Hmm.
person with experience has a high chance they'll leave the company quickly because they'll get a better
Yeah.
job. But this person with no experience, and you actually were willing to take in this person and you have trained the person and made them good at what they do. Of course, there's chances of they themselves leaving the place and company and going. But then again, they've trained them in such a way that that they know they've been long enough in the company, they like the work environment, and
Right.
and they've been trained under these people, and they know the people very well enough. They like the
Hmm.
by this time, if they like the environment, there's a high chance that they actually might be willing to work here for longer. That
Hmm.
loyalty is something that they can get. But then again, I think it's a commitment to train a person like that, to be very honest, because
Right.
one of the main reason internships became a thing was so that they can bring in people 2 to 3 months,
Hmm.
they can make them work over here. If they are actually good at the whole point of bringing such sort of interns is so that they can train them. If they are
Hmm.
actually good at the job, they can hire them, or you can actually tell them you can leave and join somewhere else. That was the whole point of a concept of internship. That
Right.
that turned into hiring interns, not giving them enough jobs, or just dumping in them work that was not going to help them, and instead
Right.
just made it more frustrating for those people, and they just didn't end up learning, to be honest. And the main reason internships was created was so that companies can hire people and train them enough so that they can get for the betterment of their companies. And there are
Hmm.
companies who are willing to do that. There are companies who are willing to hire interns like that and train them well enough so that if they're actually good at what they do, they permanently are willing to like
Hmm.
employ these people. And in a way, it's a good system. Like, I mean, 3 months they've trained them. If the office likes the intern, they can join. If the intern is not willing, they can also leave if they want to.
Right.
It's a good thing. But then, yeah, again, I wish more companies are willing to train them, because that when you have like someone who's experienced in the field who teaches them what to do,
Hmm.
right, it's always going to be very helpful. It's always
Hmm.
good to have someone who's like mentoring you and guiding you and teaching you how to do something. And
Hmm.
it's always good to have that sort of a person who's like willing to like mentor you, and someone you can like rely on and asking for help instead of you yourself like trying to figure out, right? And if you have that sort if you have that sort of a guidance you can give a person, if you are actually willing to do that training, yeah,
Hmm.
100% that loyalty will be coming. But again, that person might leave the company eventually, but then the chance of loyalty is a lot higher with this person than with another person. But then again, like I said, right, training this person, it takes like 2 years to train such person to become
Right.
good at
Right.
the job. It takes a really long time. So genuinely, it's a huge commitment for the person to train a person who like this, who doesn't have any experience, who just who are just good at what they do. Because you can be good at the skill set, but it's those experience that does still count, like content. It does
Right.
matter because I mean, because I'm a designer, I'll just give you examples of designing only. Because uh, let's take an artist only. When an artist is drawing in college, the idea is from them. It is their
Hmm.
idea, it is their artwork, it is their creativity, it is 100% artistic control of them.
Hmm.
Now when they are working and they're going to do artwork for other people, that 100% artistic control is not going to be there for them. They are
Right.
going to do work, they are going to do something what the client is asking them. And
Hmm.
when the client is asking them something, it's not something that these people are used to doing, it's something very different for them. There are some there are some artists who find it challenging and they're willing to somewhat find the solution for this. But then there are also like artists who are like, for them it's just scary in the beginning that they don't know how to do this, because they are not used to this whole thing of ask someone else telling that they want it this way and they have to do it. That is completely
Right.
different from they themselves doing what they wanted to do. because every
Mhm.
single thing that is going on the paper is completely going to be their vision. But now this
Right.
is the client's vision that you're trying to bring in visually. So
Mhm.
that's a big responsibility, and it's very different from they themselves doing the artwork themselves.
Mhm.
Or and for someone who doesn't and when they're hiring someone, a person who doesn't have experience, it's going to take a lot of time for them also to figure out and come up with a design, versus a person who has experience. They probably will be able to come up with a design with a much shorter time because they're just used to it.
Mhm. Right.
So that experience is always, is that's the reason why companies ask for the experience. They can get their
Mhm.
work quickly done on time, and they can get their work done good. That's why. But then,
Right.
the ones who are willing to train, you can see the benefit that they have.
Mhm.
There's a high chance that they have someone who works for them much longer. And that's one of the things they need, right? They want that loyalty. Because, what's the point of hiring someone and then 2 years later and they just bounce, and someone else, they'll have to search for another person. That's just, instead of that, you have one person who's just been working here for years. That's just better for them also. So,
Right.
but
Right.
then again, one of the main reasons a lot of companies are not willing to do that is because after training them for so many years, they just leave. Then it's just, they feel like it's just they spend so much time, and this is what has happened to in the
Mhm.
end. So I think that's the reason. But I wish more companies do that.
Right. Even with the whole internship program, it is a very good, idea which they have actually came up with. But nowadays, like the whole internship thing, it's like either you're just doing free labor or
Hmm.
you're just working for like a very low amount of money. And most of the fresh graduates, they're not really interested in that small sum. They always want like a little bit bigger, substantial
Hmm.
thing because obviously rate of living has gone up, right? So
But yeah,
yeah. So
no,
they're
no,
not really willing to work for that internship with that small stipend or even work for free rather.
that's all. Internship is experience in the end of the day. But then now
Mm-hmm.
it's come to a point where but then again, like, people exploit interns like crazy, right? We have
Exactly.
seen that
Yeah.
happen so much. That is the main reason why a lot of these people fight for like a good stipend, because
Mm-hmm.
the amount of workload you give them and then you just pay them like 2,000, 3,000 is just, it's very unfair. So
Right.
that's the reason a lot of these people just keep trying to fight for a good stipend. But then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like some are pretty crazy. Like some of them expect like a 25K stipend, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know why. But like the fact that they're willing to pay you even like 10K stipend for an intern with no experience, you should be very grateful. Because in
Right.
the end, because you're a person with zero experience that they've hired, and if you're not good at the job, and it's not fair that they pay so much money to you. So
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's a good idea with this whole. That's why internships came, but then it's been misused. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's true. And with that being said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A huge thank you to John for joining today's show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it if you guys want to contribute to our topics. I have nothing to say. I just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing. You can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of your power, brought to you by Feba Online. This is Ajay Yohan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday.